somebody has a problem with this, I know a lot of people come and they look at YouTube, and there are people that could be the teaching, because we're looking at the constellations as well. The constellations are completely irrelevant to the whole meaning of this message. I bring it in because of an observation that it seems, at least so far, in sequence, every sign pointed to the same thing we're talking about. And I just think it's very interesting. And let's just leave it at that. Let's say it's a coincidence. Okay? But I think it's a pretty good coincidence. Look. So, the sign here is Sagittarius. I'm sure everybody knows what Sagittarius is. Now, nowhere are we recommending that you follow astrology or anything like that. We're just pointing out a coincidence in the heavens. It was anciently believed that this sign represented the great mythological prophet Charion. Charion was never considered, Charion's from the Greek mythology, Charion was never considered to have been one of the evil centaurs. You see, he's a centaur. But the centaur, the idea of a centaur, there's actually two centaurs, constellations, and neither one of them represented an evil centaur. What it represented was someone who had a divine nature and a human nature, is what it was supposed to write. In other words, two natures. And we know Jesus came, he had two natures, right? And that's really what it represents. But that, neither here nor there. The idea to be conveyed was primarily the notion of his having two natures, as is also true of the constellation Charion, which is the other one, being one of the deacons of Virgo. Okay. The scriptures surely attest to the fact that when the Messiah does come forth, his enemies shall be defeated. And we have a quote from Psalm 64:7. Now this is Bible. You can't argue with Bible. It says, God shall shoot at them with an arrow. Who? His enemy. It's interesting that the arrow of Sagittarius is aimed directly at the heart of Scorpion, and the scriptures declare in Psalm 45:5, thine arrows are deliberately sharp in the heart of the king's enemies. Well, and you don't have to buy this. It's just an observation. You see this altar. Sagittarius is the one who kicks over the altar. And the fire comes down. It's to represent judgment. What did we read before the blowing of the trumpets? Revelation 8:5. The angel took the censer and filled it with fire of the altar, cast it to the earth. And there were voices and thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake. And then came the seven trumpets. So it is judgment. Sagittarius here, you have Sagittarius and you have the three deacons associated with that sign. There's 48 signs overall, and we've got those on YouTube. We cover that. But the three that are associated here is Draco, Lyra, and Ara, which Ara is that altar. We've already talked about that. Now, this one here, Lyra, is, you can see over here, the constellation Lyra represents the harp, which means praise. It's belonging to the prophet Orpheus. The great spiritual and supernatural power that emanated from this musical instrument in the hands of this great musician had a tremendous effect upon wild animals, rocks, trees, and rivers. You'll notice the trumpets have this effect upon the earth and the trees and the rivers, right? But this is saying that, this is talking about praise, the power of praise is what's here. It might even be fair to say that no living being, whether he is a man or a god or even nature itself, had any immunity or ability to resist this magic. Now, of course, here we've got a quote from mythology. Don't confuse that with the Bible. We're not saying that this is gospel truth. We're just saying this is what they say this represents. So let's look at Scripture. Revelation 8, 3 through 5. And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer. There was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of the saints upon the golden altar, which was before the throne. And the smoke of the incense, which came with the prayers of the saints, ascended up before God out of the angel's hands. What that is praise. Whether you're singing it or you're praying, it's still praise, right? And so we have the same, the signs showing, remember, this is Sagittarius 8th sign, and this is the 8th chapter of the Bible. We have one last one, and that's Draco the dragon. Well, we know what the symbol of the dragon is, right? The constellation Draco might need no interpretation, as it is that same dragon of whom it was written in Revelation chapter 12, verse 9. And the great dragon was cast out, the old serpent called the devil, and Satan, which deceives the whole earth. He was cast out into the earth. His angels were cast out with him. Now, this constellation is actually from the Greek, but they're in Egypt. Egypt zodiac was just slightly different. The pictures were different, basically. And this serpent, Draco, in the Dendera zodiac, which was a great zodiac in Egypt, is located directly under the feet of Sagittarius. It's called by the name Herphent, which means the serpent accursed. And we know that the serpent represents the one who's accursed, right? Satan is the one accursed. He's the one who really is blamed for everything. Because he's the one that did it all with murdering Adam and Eve. He's the one that brought all the destruction, all the sickness, all the disease that we know. He's the one that took the paradise and turned it upside down, and we have all of this rotten stuff on this earth. The good news is, it's all going away in the future. See, we're not destined to live like this forever. The Arabians represented this particular dragon, look at this, as having 7 heads, which we see in the book of Revelation, right? The dragon has 7 heads, and the middle of which was considered to be human, the other 6 being serpent-like. I found this interesting because we know the dragon gives his power to a human being, right? Who is who? The Antichrist, when he comes. So all this is in this sign here, which is very coincidental.